Good morning, good morning, good morning. Today is Wednesday, July 10th, day number 69 of Van Gogh and Riley here. This was our tent spot last night. It was a beautiful tent spot. The ground was a little rocky, so it was a little tough to get my stakes in the ground, but I was able to manage and figure it out after trying many different spots. I know, Riley. I know. We're gonna get going very soon. There was a hiker that passed us just as I got everything outside of my tent and I was ready to pack up my tent. The hiker that I actually mentioned yesterday that we had the who didn't like dogs, that I had the less than positive exchange with, he actually passed us just going this way. But we had a very pleasant exchange this morning. Very pleasant. It's a new day. Neither of us are harboring any bad feelings about yesterday, and it helped that he was able to just hike on and Riley's not following him, so he's been able to get a good distance between us, and we're gonna get started. And yeah, we're gonna get started. So today's Wednesday. I'm thinking we should be able to make it to Harper's Ferry by Sunday. At this point, we're 71 miles away, and we might make it outside of the northern boundary of Shenandoah National Park today. We will see. We're gonna get started and we will check in later. All right, buddy, we're going. Bye for now. All right, so the trail came this way and then there's a view out that way. Now it continues this way, and I think Riley wants to, okay, he wants to pop down. I thought he wanted to go out and take a look at the view. But anyway, it's a cloudy day today. So we're still warm. We're still warm while we're hiking, but it's better than the alternative of it being a bright sunny day with the sun beating down on us. There's a nice breeze to help keep us somewhat cool. So that's good. That's all for now. We took a break earlier and I had some breakfast and gave Riley some food and water. And we're still approaching the shelter called Gravel Springs Hut. I think this view out here is Riley, you want to go out to see the view? Okay. Let's go see the view. We're just a couple feet away, so it's not gonna kill us. Here we go. Yeah, we can go out here, Riley. All right, yep, lots of clouds all around. I think this is Little Hogback Mountain. And there was an overlook over there, we just passed it on Skyline Drive, and I think that's Little Hogback Overlook. So that's the view. We'll check in later. All right, so just trying to get my knee comfortably placed. We made it past Gravel Springs Hut, and we made it about a mile. We're about a mile after Gravel Springs Hut, and there's like a viewpoint over there, and there's this campsite that's right next to the view, and I was like, oh, that's a beautiful spot for a break. Even though it's like all clouded over, I'm still like really hot when I'm like really sweating a lot when I'm hiking, and I'm always tired, like not tired necessarily in terms of like breathing hard, but just my muscles are just always tired. And so I'm, especially in the mornings and the midday, and so I'm often just walking slowly. I don't usually feel like a jolt of energy until we get to the evening time. Anyway, so I stopped in here and I'm running low on my drink mixes. I had my last instant coffee. And all I have left is one more Pure Kick PK brand Concord grape flavor. So I'll have to use that wisely over the next few days. And we're about to get, but that, yeah, so my instant coffee that I just drank it hit the spot. It was very good. Hey, I'm sorry, Riley. I'm sorry. We have 5.6 miles until the next water source. I haven't filled up on water today. We're still using the water that I filled up on yesterday. So I brought 4 liters to camp last night and we used about 1 liter. And now we have about a little over 1.5 liters, which needs to last us for the next 5.6 miles. And with it being so clouded over, I think I don't think that's going to be a problem, especially since I just hydrated myself. Before we get going, I'm going to give Riley a treat. Gave him one of these earlier today. I don't give Riley a lot of treats, even though I have a lot of treats. Hey buddy, yes, you're excited. So this is one of the bags of treats that was gifted to us by one of the many nice people in Daleville. 2 separate people gave me complimentary bags of dog treats, and this was one of them. Riley knows. You know Riley. Yes. And these are big dog treats. I usually give them... This is what they look like. They're very big. I usually give them a half of one at a time because they're so big. Alright, so I'm gonna... Let me... Alright, so I got the camera on my head now. And I just tried to break one up into 2. Very good. All right, I'm gonna put it in his bowl here. Riley, give me your paw. Give me your paw. Riley, paw. Good boy. Here you go. All right. Good boy, Riley. All right, he ate it all. Amazing, he ate it all. Okay. So that's Riley eating a dog treat. And we're gonna continue on. The journey continues. The journey continues. At one footstep at a time, we progress towards Mount Katahdin. It's not a, can't say that every single part of the journey is fun. It's definitely not fun. It's not fun, Riley, is it? It's not fun. It's work. It's hard. It's a challenge. It would be awesome to just stay here for the rest of the day and just not do anything. It would be awesome. But it's also awesome when we get to the end of the day, when we get to our campsite and we can feel proud about all the good hiking we've done, and then we can go to sleep with good, strong consciences that we're making excellent progress towards our goal, and we can look forward to a good dinner and a good night's sleep. And knowing that we're getting closer to Harper's Ferry and getting closer to seeing our parents and having a good meal with them and an amazing meal with them. We'll have an amazing meal. And you'll get to sleep inside on a bed or on the sofa. And then we'll get to go back out and do more hiking. So it's hard work, but we got to keep moving forward. One other thing that I've actually been making progress on is I've been actually getting some reading done. So I've been carrying this bag with me ever since Waynesboro, and I started carrying it because my pack was just too heavy, and my pack is still heavy, and I've been adding to it because I added this whole loaf of sourdough bread and a few other Trail Magic items that people gave to me. But I decided that I would actually take my Kindle out of my electronics bag, which I generally keep inside my pack. I have my Kindle stored in this doggy bag, dog waste bag, and I just keep it in here so that I can access it super easily. Before, when my Kindle was stored in my electronics bag, which was in my pack, I hardly ever want to, unless it's really important, I don't really feel like opening up my pack because it's always a lot of effort to reorganize everything and get everything packed back up. And so now with my Kindle right here, I can access it easily. So I just started doing that a couple days ago. And so now when we take breaks, I can just easily take my Kindle out and actually do some reading during the day, which I wasn't doing before. Why did it take me so long to think of this? Partly I didn't want to, I was resistant towards keeping the Kindle outside of my pack just because it's less protected that way. It's more likely that it might get damaged or get wet if it starts to rain. But I think I can manage those risks appropriately, and this at least helps me to actually get some reading done and make the Kindle useful. So I'm on to that next book that I mentioned, which is Gone Girl. I'm reading it because it's a book that has just been intriguing to me for a while, and I had started trying to read it multiple times but never got very far, and so now I'm finally making progress on it, and I'm up to chapter 4 now. I'd started it over a week ago, and I was stuck on the second chapter for almost an entire week because I was keeping the Kindle in my pack, and then I wasn't getting any reading done at night. But now I'm at least getting reading done during the day, which is awesome. So, and that helps to make this hike. I was talking about how the hike is starting to feel like a job. Well, when I'm able to get reading done, which I find fun, I get pleasure out of it. It helps to make it feel less like a job, which is good. And it makes I can feel my heart smile when I am able to get reading done, in addition to just getting miles done and keeping Riley and myself safe and fed. Doing something that you find enjoyable in other ways is definitely important. So I'm definitely pleased that I'm able to get some reading done. And yeah, I'm so happy about that. So, and I'm looking forward to getting more reading done. So a quick synopsis of the book. Let me describe it in case I'm sure this is not of interest to many people, but let me describe what I've read so far. So the characters are this guy named Nick Dunn, and Amy Elliott. Nick and Amy are married, and Nick has a sister named Margot, who goes by a nickname of Go. And Nick and Margot, their brother and sister, these people are all grown adults. I assume they're in their mid-30s, I'm guessing. So Nick and Margot, they grew up in Missouri, but they all moved to New York City in their early adulthood. I'm gonna sit down here. I'm gonna make this brief. I'm not gonna ramble on too long, but I just feel like describing what I've read so far because I'm enjoying it, and Riley can get more rest while I describe it. So they moved to New York City in their early adulthood, which was like in the early 2000s, I think. And the way the book is set up, it's like short chapters of each individual character, like describing their own perception of events that occur. So far it's like diary entries from Amy, from past times, like not the present day, but earlier on in Amy and Nick's relationship. Amy is describing like things, I guess, that led up to the present, whereas Nick's diary entries are all based in the present so far. So anyway, so Amy's diary entries so far have just described like how she and Nick met, like how they met at a party in New York, and Nick was very charming, and Amy also is her parents are authors, and her parents have this fairly successful children's book series called Amazing Amy, which is loosely based on herself, but not strictly based on herself. So her parents, basically the way I understand it is her parents kind of have based the character on their daughter, but they've made the character like the perfect version of her daughter. So it's like, so Amy kind of feels like she needs to live up to the character in the book, and so I'm guessing she kind of feels like she's letting her parents down because she's not as good as the character in the book. And this Amazing Amy book series that her parents write, it's, I guess, continued for multiple years, and her parents keep coming out with more and more books. Anyway, so yeah, so like I said, all three of these adults, Amy, Nick, and Margot, they all lived in New York, but then I guess Margot eventually, she was in investment banking, it said, and she lost her job in the 2008 financial crisis, and she decided to move back to Missouri. They pronounce it the way Missourians pronounce it, which is Missouri, I believe. And then she convinced Nick to move back with her, and Nick and Margot decided to open a bar, and they called it The Bar. Riley's getting himself comfortable. He's like, yeah, he's getting himself comfortable there. And so Nick persuaded his wife Amy to come with him, and it sounds like Amy wasn't very thrilled about moving from New York to Missouri, but she did it anyway. So they're all living in Missouri, and Nick and Amy live in this residential development. It sounds like they have a pretty nice house, like a big house in a residential development but the community is kind of isolated. Like there's not, because of the 2008 mortgage crisis, there's many houses in their community that are not occupied, either because the homes were never purchased or because the people that lived there were evicted because they had mortgage troubles. Anyway, yeah, so Nick and Margot opened this bar. It was like I guess a dream of many years for them to open a bar together. And Nick and Margot are really, really close. They're like much, much closer than most brothers and sisters are. They're almost like soulmates, it seems like. And Nick and Margot, like Nick will tell Margot about like things that go on in his marriage with Amy. Anyway, what I've gotten to so far, just after the first few chapters, is that something weird has happened at Nick and Amy's house. So Nick got a call from his neighbor Carl. Apparently their cat was just wandering around outside, and Nick drove home and his door was wide open, and Nick went inside and he was like looking for Amy, but he found the living room is just completely a mess. Like all the furniture was, some furniture was broken and just turned on its side. It was just a crazy mess. And then in other rooms, like stuff was left on in the kitchen and the iron was left on in their bedroom, but Amy was nowhere to be found. So apparently so Amy is just missing, and she's gone completely missing, unexplained. Nick has no idea what's happened. So that's the present day. But from Amy's perspective, she's speaking to the reader through her diary entries, which were based several years before the present day in the book. And so far she's just described how she and Nick met, and how Nick was very charming, but then Nick lost her. Like Nick didn't contact her for a while, and then eventually they met up again and they became a couple. But I'm guessing that like the way it's going to go is that Amy started off just being very infatuated with Nick, but gradually over time she becomes less and less infatuated with him. And I'm guessing she ultimately left, assuming it was through her own willpower, just left because she was just fed up with everything. Anyway, so that's all I've read so far. It's a very soap opera-y, like, but I'm finding it interesting. It's just a good mind diversion from all the hiking, and yeah, I'm enjoying it so far. So that's what it's about. Perhaps I will, as long as I'm continuing to enjoy it, perhaps I'll try to provide further summaries as I go along, because I don't have anything better to do. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad thing. As long as I'm enjoying it, I'll enjoy describing it. And if you're not interested, then no need to watch. That's fine. But yeah, it is what it is. Hopefully I can describe it in a way that's interesting. I'm guessing it was a pretty popular book, so I'm guessing a lot of people probably have read it, but I'm guessing there's probably a lot of people that haven't read it. I would guess more people have not read the book than have read the book in the overall population, even though it was a pretty popular book, I think. Anyway, so Riley's comfortable there. We're going to continue on here, get back to our hiking, and yeah, like I said, I'm thinking we should be able to get to Harper's Ferry by Sunday, which is after today, 4 days away, because today's Wednesday. And so we're planning to meet up with my parents there, and I'm starting to think about what I might want to have for dinner. That should be exciting. I'm thinking I might just want to get some brown rice and some broccoli and cauliflower and maybe some other vegetables, and just cook the vegetables on the stovetop with like oil and teriyaki sauce and some salt, and just mix all the vegetables together and get them nice and not too soft, but cooked so that they're warm and softer than raw, and mix it all up with the salt and oil and teriyaki sauce, and then just get a bunch of rice and put it over the rice, and just get a whole bunch of that and have a big bowl of the rice and mixed vegetables. That sounds really appetizing to me now. So that's what I'm thinking for now, but we'll see. It'll be fun to think. It's always fun to envision what you're going to eat in advance of the meal, so that you can look forward to it. So there's Riley. He's so beautiful. All right, I'm gonna stop rambling. We're gonna continue on, and we will check in later. Bye for now. So Riley and I have continued on from our break spot, and we made it to this, we crossed Skyline Drive and got to this parking area that was called the Mount Marshall Trailhead. And so I believe we are climbing up, this is like North Mount Marshall, I believe, and this is at least one of the nice viewpoints. There might be some other viewpoints further up, but this is one of the nice viewpoints. We passed a group of, we haven't seen many hikers on the trail today. There was just that one hiker that passed us as we were still at our campsite that we had met yesterday, and then a little after that there was a large group of like 10 hikers that were all hiking together, and they were hiking southbound, so they passed us. And that when we crossed paths with them, we were near another viewpoint, and they all kind of hiked out to the viewpoint, and I heard one of them remark, it was like a remark in frustration, I can't believe the clouds haven't dissipated yet. Like she was disappointed that the clouds were I guess ruining the views. And I thought to myself, I'm happy the clouds are here. I don't care about the views. It's helping keep the day that much cooler. So the views are still awesome as far as I'm concerned, and I'm thankful for the clouds today. All right, we will check in later. All right, the AT continues that way, but Riley is insisting we come out for another view on this side trail. Oh, we gotta watch our step. It is rocky out here. Rocky and jaggedy all over. Oh my goodness, my pack is just barely making it through here. Riley, good boy, good boy. Oh, you're so awesome, Riley. It's actually not a bad view. I mean, you can see buildings down there and make out various features in the land. And the cloud up there is looking gray. So is it gonna rain today? Are we gonna get dumped on with rain? Hopefully not. Time will tell. But if we do, at least it's like pretty warm out, so definitely a different situation compared to if it was winter time and we would get dumped on with rain. So far there has not been any rain. It's just been clouds overhead. I'm not afraid of rain today. I just don't like really heavy rain for a long period of time. But if it's really heavy rain for a short period of time, that's okay. Or if it's moderate rain for a longer period of time, that's okay. Anyway, but so far the clouds are just doing a great job of keeping it that much cooler. So that's all for now, folks. We'll check in later. All right, so Riley and I are crossing Skyline Drive here. Oh, Riley, goodness gracious. There was just this is Hog Wallow Gap, I believe. And there was a couple hikers that we met a little while ago. Riley's all tangled up now. And I only have 3% battery, so my battery's gonna die. But they had a dog, and their dog was off leash, and the dog was running ahead of them. And he caught up to us, and I like screamed, "Get back, get back, get back." And unfortunately the dog ran back to them. Then they passed us, and then they decided to take a break, and so then we passed them, and then Riley went to stop, but I was like, no way in HE double hockey sticks are we stopping. So I had to like kind of pull him a little bit, but he just wants to stop and wait for them. Oh, buddy. All right, I guess we can wait here and let them pass. We can just take a break whenever they come. But I wanted to mention this place here quickly. In 2018, when I did my hike in 2018, my dad met me at this gap as a surprise. He called me like earlier in the day to say he wanted to meet up with me, but it was an awesome surprise. He drove down, and I wrote this in my guidebook. He brought trail magic for me. He went to Whole Foods, and he brought like a curry dish and a salad and an orange juice and a piece of like whipped cream cake. It may have been like strawberry shortcake, and he brought a lot of food, and it was a huge treat. It was so nice seeing him, and I really enjoyed the food. And then when we were finished, I hiked on. He gave me the option, like, do you want to take the rest of the food? And I declined because I think I took some of the food, but I didn't take all of the food because I was worried it was going to weigh too much. And then later in the day, when I got to the campsite at the shelter, Tom Floyd shelter, I remember regretting it and thinking I should have taken the rest of the food. All right, so here are the hikers. We'll check in later here. All right. Park boundary. You are now leaving Shenandoah National Park and entering private property. Please help us keep this access route open by respecting the rights of the landowners. Stay on trail. All right. So Riley and I have made it to the northern end of Shenandoah National Park. That is an achievement. So congratulations, Riley. Congratulations. Riley has been motivated to hike for much of today. There's been always someone in front of us. SideQuest caught up to us, and he's been in front of us most recently, and Riley's just been hiking strong. So we're just about a half mile from Tom Floyd Wayside. When we get there, we'll have done 14.5 miles on the day, and it still seems very early, so we might be able to go further. I think we'll be able to go further, but just need to make sure Riley gets enough rest and that we're not pushing ourselves too hard. So we will check in later, but I just wanted to mark the achievement of getting through the... Yes, as I was saying, my battery just died. Just wanted to mark the achievement of getting through the AT portion of Shenandoah National Park. And we're still in Virginia, but I think we have about 60 miles to go until Harper's Ferry. So, onward and onward we continue. All right, we'll check in later. Bye for now. All right, hello. Riley and Van Gogh are here, safe and sound in our tent. Just want to close out the day for Wednesday, July 10th, day number 69. So we hiked 18.6 miles today. We're currently at mile 973.6, according to Far Out. And the last video I showed, I think we were just at the northern boundary for Shenandoah National Park. And from there, we hiked on, we had a descent to do, and we hiked down to the next shelter, which was called Tom Floyd Wayside, I believe. And that put us at about 14.5 miles on the day. But my intention was to hike on because it was still the sun. There was plenty of daylight left. But it was actually later than I realized. It was actually close to 8 o'clock at that point. But it seemed very early. Anyway, so Riley and I continued to hike on, and as we got further down the mountain, Riley just plopped down and said, "I'm taking a break." And so I accepted his request, and we started to take a break. And then shortly thereafter, SideQuest came down. I guess he had gone into the shelter area, and he hiked past us. We exchanged a few words. He just asked me what my plans were for the night. And he basically said that he was going to hike down to the next road crossing, which was like I think it's 1.3 miles from where we were. It's Virginia Route 602. And there was a water source down there, basically a stream crossing, and then he was going to try to... And I think at that point I knew, or I actually had not checked Far Out at that point, but it turned out that there were tent sites down there. Anyway, so SideQuest hiked on, and since SideQuest passed us, Riley immediately was ready to go again. So I got our things packed up, and we hiked on, and it took a while to hike down. By the time we got down to the road crossing, it was pretty much dark. And I saw SideQuest had already set up his tent. But he informed me that the ground was very rocky, and it was very difficult to insert tent stakes into the ground. Apparently SideQuest had been able to set up his tent using rocks to hold, in place of tent stakes, to hold the various guidelines in place. Anyway, so I proceeded to fill up my water bottles, and I tried in a few places to put my tent stakes into the ground, and I wasn't able to. And eventually I decided that I actually wanted to kind of hike on for a bit and get some more miles in. And I knew that there was, according to Far Out, there was a comment that there was another water source called Bear Hollow Creek in about 2.2 miles, where there was also supposedly some space for tents. So it was already dark at that point, but I decided to hike on, and I was not opposed to taking an earlier campsite before Bear Hollow Creek, but I was hoping that it would at least be a tent site where the tent stakes would be easier to get in. You know, I'm not even at the crazy part. So we had a crazy night tonight. Anyway, so we started hiking up the other side of the mountain. From the road crossing, we only had 1.4 miles to do to get to US Route 522, which leads into Front Royal. And then we had another 0.8 of a mile to get to this place, Bear Hollow Creek. And I was hoping there might be a tent site before then. Anyway, so we ascended the mountain. So this mountain was part of the 1.4 miles that leads into US Route 522. And I kind of lost track, but at some point we came, so the trail was fairly reasonable, fairly smooth and not overly rocky. But we came across a point in the trail where there was a downed tree, and usually when there's a downed tree, there's it's either possible to walk over it or walk around it, and I did not see any way to do either of those things. This was just the mother of all down trees, and it was not just one down tree. It was there were 25 down trees. I'm not kidding. So Riley and I had a ridiculous time getting through this thing. I'm not exaggerating. But we got through it. And we're safe and sound in our tent. So, I mean, I proceeded to just try to get over one piece at a time, hoping that eventually I would get to the other side. But as we got further in, I lost track of where the trail was, and it didn't seem like we were really making much progress. We were just getting further into this maze of downed trees, and I realized it was hard for me to get my footing, and Riley's leash kept getting caught in the various branches, so I ended up unstrapping his leash from my waist belt to help mitigate that, but it was still very challenging, and Riley, yeah, it would have been tough if it was just me, but it was extra tough because it was me and Riley. Riley was a trooper and did his best to get through the various branches that were in the way. Anyway, the main issue was navigating the branches at first. Eventually we got through the worst of the branches, but at that point I didn't know where the trail was, and there was still a good amount of branches around us. So fortunately I had my Far Out app on my phone, and I was able to use that to kind of figure out where I was in relation to the trail and figure out which direction I needed to walk in to hopefully find the trail. But it wasn't like I could just walk in a particular direction. There were still lots of down lots of branches and some down trees, and so whatever direction I wanted to walk in, I had to make sure that it was actually possible to walk in that direction. But eventually we made our way back to the trail, thanks to Far Out. If I didn't have Far Out on my phone, to help guide which direction I needed to walk in, I really wouldn't have had any idea which direction I needed to walk in. So that down tree was ridiculous. I have no idea how it got to be so difficult. I will definitely be asking other hikers that I meet tomorrow to see what they did to get through that area. I'm sure it would have been easier if it was daylight. Everything is more difficult at night, so perhaps there was a way around it that I didn't see. So I'm gonna be curious about asking other hikers about how they got through it tomorrow. Anyway, from there we still needed to hike into. We still needed to find a campsite, so we eventually made it to 522, and then we eventually made it to Bear Hollow Creek. And I didn't see any good tent sites around Bear Hollow Creek. I did see some flat ground, but it wasn't like it wasn't a standard campsite. So I kept going, thinking that the comment that referred to some tent sites would I kept going, thinking that, or hoping that I would find a decent tent site that was the subject of the comment that I saw in Far Out. And I didn't find anything. So I kept going. We kept going, and that was our only option, to keep going until we found something. And eventually I found a flat spot on the side of the trail, and fortunately the ground was soft enough to easily fit our tent stakes in. And so we're literally right beside the trail right now, but we're not on the trail. So we're in a good spot. It's not a designated, this is not like an official campsite, but it is flat ground beside the trail, big enough for us to fit our tent in. Anyway, so that's the adventure that we had tonight. It was really ridiculous. I'm not trying to impress anyone with the story. I'm just describing what happened. Amazingly, my pack seems to be undamaged by walking through all that brush and down trees. My pack kept getting scraped from various branches, but it doesn't seem to be damaged. And it's after midnight right now. I think it's close to 1 a.m. right now. We got to this tent site before a little before midnight, but I've been taking care of a bunch of things in the tent before closing out the video now. So we're gonna try to get a good night's sleep tonight and have a less eventful day tomorrow. But yeah, just get some good rest and pick it up again tomorrow. So I hope everyone who is watching is doing well, and I wish you all the best, and we will check in again tomorrow. Okay, bye for now.